Kane, why don't we start with you? Why is it important to invest in your people, especially right now with the 2020 market?
Obviously, your people are your voice, so you want to make sure that they're looking at the projects and things that you're providing in a manner that delivers your message. So by investing in them helps secure that for you.
Great. George, what do you think? Why is it important to invest in your people right now?
I think it's super important that we just acknowledge that our people are our most important asset that we have, that we need to maintain that in a time that could be considered uncertain to some. But it's actually, a driving force, I think, that we to get through all this together better on the other side. So
good. So talk to me about the relevancy of the content that we've been able to provide at FPG, and maybe how it compares to other things that you had been looking into. George, you want to start?
Yeah. I honestly believe that it's the biggest impact and the most beneficial part is it's the coaching along the way that really does make all the difference. That you'll get spikes in activity from seminars and that sort of thing, but to maintain accountability on like a weekly or bi-weekly basis has really been important. That even with the announcement of even like community shutdowns, to have a team that still believes that we still have to do our job, follow a process, and to move people forward, because people still need to make changes in their lives and improve their lives, that regardless of the economy and things happening, that we have to keep that focus. And I feel that FPG has been extremely impactful with keeping the accountability along the way, that I feel that we've been very prepared coming into this year. And then it's more of a mindset training than it is anything else, which has just been really awesome. So
good. Kane, anything you would add about the relevancy of the content?
I would agree with George. It's about that accountability, and in the calls and different things with the content, you get a lot of aha moments on what you could have done before, what will work in the next call. Just keeping current with the current situations and scenarios really helps our guys work through some of the problems they might be running into. And all the messages that we're learning definitely are how people buy. I definitely can relate to that myself on how I purchase, and it just helps us move forward with the people we're dealing with.
So in addition to obviously the process and tactical side of where you're selling, you guys have spoken a little bit about the mindset component. So how important has that mindset part of the program been for you and your team?
I think the mindset or the buy-in to what they're learning is super important, because then they can deliver the message correctly to the consumer. So they feel that there's a value behind their time that they're putting into this, and they've all seen good results from it on a regular basis, much less a yearly basis. So when your mind is bought into something, you're going to put 100% of it forward. And I think that's definitely something that helps.
George, what are your thoughts on the mindset piece of the program?
Well, I think it's one of the most important aspects of it, that, and you guys have done studies that prove that typically the sales pros that do the best are the ones that haven't had years of leashes or things that they've developed or tendencies that hold them back. That through mindset training, you can kind of get rid of negative beliefs and distill like positive belief systems that ultimately is really like equal to the performance of what a person can do. So as you start to see that there are certain things that hold each one of us back, that if you conquer that, you see success at the end of the day, versus, hey, why don't you do it like I'm doing, and here's steps 1 through 20, and just go out there and be awesome. That sometimes you have to like work through mindset issues, basically, to get the best performance out of people. And I think that's one of your guys' strong points that I would think really honestly sets FPG apart from any other sales training companies, for sure.
So what kind of success or financial impact has the FPG program made for Rock and Tait?
FPG has had a tremendous positive impact financially. I mean, we've seen just one of our veteran sales pros go from, I think he had about a $500,000 sales increase from 2018 to the end of 2019. And at the same moment, it wasn't just numbers, but it was the number of fewer headaches, the profitability at the same time, which is even a greater stat that we like to measure. But just as a whole, to see our whole team getting and exceeding their targets, and I don't know, and then it creates time freedom for us and the whole team, where it's not just, hey, how much can we do at the end of the day, but to be able to celebrate along the way and not, I don't know, it's just created more of a positive impact all around, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Good. Kane, what about you? What would you say as far as the impact financially, success-wise, that FPG has had?
I guess it's really easy to gauge as far as numbers go, but also with the culture, it's been a lot easier to keep some of the guys that had negative leashes on track, and that's a big one. The numbers themselves, I think Rock and Tait had their best year in 2019 ever. Most profitable, like George had mentioned, by far, and then the most success as far as quality of work and things like that. So I think it's all attributing to the changes that we've put in place for the people, which is the sales training, and then also the mindset of going into each lead with an open mind and less things holding you back. So a combination of both a nominal and a mindset change has been huge for 2019 for us, I think, and will get us through some of these harder times that we're in right now.
Good. So Kane, what has it done to have your team following the same process? Talk to us about the 5-4-3 and how that's impacted the team.
Well, I think the process that you guys offer as far as, understanding the customer has really helped the team dig into and listen versus always telling and selling. And that's made the biggest difference even in my sales, is less, controlling the sale, but let the customer talk more. My partner, George, there has always kind of done that, but I had a more assertive approach. And it did help my numbers tremendously as well, just to listen more. So that was the biggest takeaway. And I think we can pick up where people are struggling easily with your approach. So when I do coach along the way, as far as people call and ask me questions and stuff, I'm using those same, steps to determine what they really did. And a lot of them will all of a sudden find that they didn't follow the process, because it's really easy to get back in your old way of thinking. And it just is, it's easy to jump back on the track with the way you train it.
Good. George, what would you say about the 5-4-3?
I think it's been awesome because our team has responded very, very well to FPG, and especially you, Rachel, that it's great that it's not like things we're coming up with, that it's things like you guys are coming up with. And I feel like there's just a different level of respect of like, hey, like you guys know what you're doing, and then we can follow it. And then it's it's a lot easier to identify maybe where something's going wrong, because there is a process we all share and follow together, versus it's not, hey, here's my method I came up with like years ago, and then trying to put my own beliefs with the methods on there. Because like the best part about your guys is 5-4-3 is it's all based on like psychology and science, and that allows us to grow within it and then add our art to it, that it doesn't take a person real long to learn that, and then it's a lot easier to coach it, just because we're all busy And your guys' philosophy is in alignment with ours, that you really just want to move sales forward as quickly as possible. So you got to have a process and steps to that, you know, it simplifies what we're doing big time.
Yeah, that's awesome. One of the concerns or objections that we get sometimes from prospects is the time commitment with the seminars and the calls and the lessons. What would you say to them in regards of the time commitment? George.
Could you repeat that again? I'm sorry.
The time commitment. So that's usually a hesitation for people is, you know, I don't want to take my salespeople out of the field for an hour a week on a call, give them a lesson, maybe, you know, take a day and do a seminar. They're concerned about the time commitment required to go through the program.
Yeah, I would say as someone worried about the time commitment, that the time that we spend is an incredibly small amount of time compared to the time that we are in the field, that you do have to spend time working on your business, you know, even as just as much in it. So I think it's great for our whole team just to take that, you know, 1 hour a week and, you know, and we're actually talking about real prospects or leads we're currently working on too. And I've seen that it would like deliver like a new way of thinking. And next thing we know, like some of the feedback that we're having moves that sale forward, that if we didn't have that meeting, that those sales wouldn't have happened. So I actually think that it's also positively impacting closing percentages versus worrying like, oh, we need to run after all these leads and its numbers, that if you can increase closing percentages, you know, up to 25-30% versus 15 to 20%, that to spend 1 hour a week is 100, like in my opinion, it's very, very worth it, that you're not giving up as much as you think, that you're actually working on what you're already working in. If that makes sense.
Yeah, really good. Kane, what would you tell somebody who is concerned about the time commitment?
I think, you know, having that hour a week or even more holds the accountability there. So it's very easy to get busy and not have time to put the effort in learning something, then just go about your business every single day. To have the commitment on a weekly basis redirects that conversation for your next lead every single time. It gets it at top of mind, which then you don't fall in the same ruts that you were originally or lose what you're not using, because there's a lot of information, of course. So I think for what you put into that, you know, hour or two a week, by far has a better payback as far as what you deliver to the customer and how the sales pro feels about themselves, getting them through the hard times when things aren't selling well. Because we know we're all rock stars when we're selling, but when things aren't landing, it's tough to get through that as well. We have the biggest egos, they say. So I just think that accountability and then learning from each other in those calls helps get you through the week. Otherwise, all of a sudden a month goes by and there has been little contact that should be there because you get busy. So it just keeps a track and a focus to the projects and how you're learning them.
Okay. Is there any other advice that you would give to a new client that just signed up?
I think the biggest thing is come with an open mind. Because if you come in there with ideas that you know better, you're not going to gain the most out of this program. We've done this for almost 2 years now, and we latched onto it from a conference, and I thought just the message that they were delivering was exactly how I would buy, and it's been nothing but great things since then. So if you just listen and keep an open mind, you're going to gain a lot more from it versus, you know, building up walls because you don't believe. And trying the things out correctly is going to be huge for you.
Thank you. All right, George, what advice would you give a new client?
I think Kane said it really well, but yeah, definitely given your commitment to having an open mind with it, but to give it a fair shot, but, you know, as fast as you possibly can, to try to understand and practice and role play. I think one of the big things that I seen our entire team go from kind of beginner, not really understanding it, scared of it, was when we all did our monologues and we videoed it, that when you watch yourself do something, it's easier to be real critical of that. And then after 10, 15 minutes of just practicing a monologue, it seemed like the whole team kind of went from like, ooh, I'm not really sure about this, like, okay, whatever, we're going to follow this new process, to, wow, here we're at. And all of a sudden on our huddle calls and our weekly calls, it's really interesting to see our entire team grab a hold of not just the science, but how they know exactly where each prospect or lead is at in the process. And it's just a tremendous confidence booster. So my advice would be to not give up before you give it a chance, for sure, that you will not be disappointed, for sure.